I hope you're having a good start into the day, a good morning. Um, I do believe you do need the energy for the analyze session, for the analysis in the markets, for your thought process, having a good decision making in order to capitalize on the markets and take valid opportunities, which the market will show you by itself, by showing its hands. So therefore, there is no need to chase. Stay patient, stay disciplined, follow your plan, follow your system, especially follow your KPIs, and definitely follow not yourself but the markets, because the market will always guide you through the price action. Never show any ego in the markets. Ego is gonna destroy all of your KPIs, all of your profits, all of your decision making, emotional based. So stay very wise. So to start into the analysis in euro US dollar, um, I quickly, before starting into that, I anyway think it's gonna be a pretty boring session since price is opening pretty gay, but we will come to that later on. I just wanted before that to share something, a pretty insightful theory which I was following or experiencing, I would say, in my VIP month in WWE when I was in VIP previously in 2025. I have learned a lot about myself, a lot about my emotions, a lot about my decision making, a lot about my technical perspective within the charts. So a lot of learnings backed by experience. So looking into that, what I can say is that I do think that I found out the best way. That's not my main account. This is why I am having issues with premium, but I'm gonna switch to my main account soon. This is why I think I do have found a pretty accurate system to follow in your journey and career, which will give you the right guidance no matter if you're having issues or not. I do think it is a pretty accurate plan to follow, and it's backed by experience because this is how I didn't do it. And the reason for not doing it that way, which I'm gonna show you now, is because I have not known it better. This is why I'm sharing the insights, because through experience you're learning a lot of things and how to do things correctly, how to do things wrong. And this is why I do think the most important thing for you to follow in your career will be a pretty simple system. And the system which I do think it's correctly to follow is a four loop system. I'm calling it four loop system because it's based on four different steps you're gonna go, and after finishing the four steps you're cycling through that cycle within that system. And through doing that you are firstly learning a lot about yourself. You're improving in your personality, you're improving in your emotion based decisions, regulating it. You're gonna have a crazy stable foundation of your decision making, which will allow you to trade the markets much easier than you're doing it right now, because a lot of people do think that trading is based on having the craziest technical analysis and the craziest drawings in the charts, having a million of any variables within the markets, which is, in a sense, it makes sense, but it isn't that way. I do think it's more so psychology, and I do think it's more the way of making right decisions and perform under pressure. So a lot of people are not able to perform under pressure. Also in the life outside of trading, you are seeing a lot of people who are very depressed, especially at the current current economic state, and the state of having artificial intelligence and a lot of social media and phones and etc., where in the past people were more social, more open, having better decision making. And now today's nowadays it's everything based basically on asking ChatGPT and doing some shitty stuff. So I do think that's a big reason why a lot of people have lost their performance under pressure. And the real reason why people 90% fail in trading is because they're just not able to control their mind and their body. And I think that's the big issue, not only in trading but overall in life. And for me personally, mastering trading is not a sign of financial success. It's a sign of you being able to master your mind and body, which is much more fulfillment than seeing it as financial freedom, success of financial freedom. Because I do think 90% of people are not able to get financial freedom in trading, and no matter where. But what I do think is that 90% are not able to control mind and body. So by explaining my system, which I would like you to follow, and I would like you to just observe and take only in consideration, will be a four loop system. Starting with that, this is how you're gonna um, continue your journey, and I do think it's gonna be pretty important for you to understand what I'm gonna now say. So the four loop system is gonna consider of four steps. The first step is gonna be I. The second step is gonna be O. The third step is gonna be F, and the fourth step is gonna be A I. So I'm gonna explain the definitions of these short letters. So the first one is gonna be the input. What I do mean by input. So how I was following my journey over time by experiencing that system and understanding that this is the way of learning and improving in your trading, is that firstly you're gonna have your input. Your input is gonna be basically you sitting in your charts and taking, let's say today, and let's say this fourth week of March. That's gonna be your input. Your input is gonna be the material you're gonna be able to work with. And to be able to work with that, you need to execute. And in order to execute, you need to have decision making. And in order to have decision making, you need to be disciplined. So everything is basically connected within that system. So the first step is the input, where you're gonna have the whole fourth week of March, where you're gonna execute, let's say for example, 2 to 3 trades. And what I want you to do is that you go every day from Monday to Friday, that you're writing a pre-game plan. Get TradeZilla, get any system, go to just to Notion for free, and add a section where you can write your pre-game plans for London and New York from Monday to Friday. I want you to write down your thoughts, which is pretty important, and trust me, it's important to write it down, because you will not be able to have more than 10 pre-game plans from 10 sessions in a week in your mind. That's not gonna be the way of doing things. So write down your pre-game plans from Monday to Friday into a Notion template. After that, you're gonna have, if you sit on Friday, if we know on Friday, you're gonna have 5 pre-game plans to work with. No, sorry, it's gonna be 10 pre-game plans and a few executed trades. And this is gonna be the input, the material which you're having about yourself, about your emotions, about your thought process, about your decision making, about your actions, and about your executed trades. This is basically gonna be the material which you're gonna work with. So this is gonna be the input. You basically writing pre-game plans, executing trades, and this is gonna be your input basically. After that, you're gonna go to the output. And now listen carefully. The output is pretty important, because what I want to say with the output is that now it comes into place where you definitely need a mentorship and a mentor. You do not need to take a mentor for 20k, for 30k, but you definitely need to find the right mentor, because the mentor which you're gonna have, who is, I hope so, profitable already and it's showing its KPIs and data, I do think you need that mentor for you to get guided through your career and journey and your mistakes. Because in step number 1, where you write pre-game plans, where you journal your emotions, where you journal your thought process, your actions, where you're also executing trades and you're collecting all of that data. I mean, I can show you on my TradeZilla later on how many pre-game plans I wrote. I wrote over 50 to 60 to 100 pre-game plans, all written about my emotions during the sessions, about my actions and thought process and everything. I as well have executed trades, a lot of executed trades. And these are all data collection which you can work with, because if you go into that pre-game plan afterwards, after the week, and you analyze what you were thinking about the markets and how you have acted and what your decision making was, you will be able to improve definitely, because you will be able to review your thought process and therefore improve by reflecting on your behavior. But this is as well a big skill which I've learned in my experience in my trading. It's basically learning and studying and reflecting yourself, your behavior, which is pretty difficult because you need to observe yourself. But a lot of people are not aware of their behavior and steps and conscious and unconscious mind. So I do think that you firstly need to build up that skill, but that's coming over time, so that doesn't matter. So coming to step 2 about output, what I wanted to say is you definitely need a mentor, because the mentor is gonna guide you through the right informations. Because I'm telling you now, if you write for 5 days in a week pre-game plans about everything you have done in the markets and you execute trades, you take these two informations, let's call it informations. You take these informations because it's very important information about yourself and you're doing in the markets. You take that information, and in step 2 is the output, because I call it output because the mentor will be able to instantly review your informations, and by instantly reviewing your informations, you will be able on a weekend to immediately compare your informations, your pre-game plans, your executed trades, your decisions, your behavior, your emotions, everything. You'll be able to compare everything because the mentor is guiding you through that immediately, if you have a good mentor and a good mentorship. For me personally, in WWA, in VIP, it was a pretty crazy company, which is definitely the best one I will ever and have ever seen in the industry of trading. Because you're having daily sessions, you're having Q&A calls, you're having a coach who's guiding you through all of that. You're having a journal where you execute trades and journal trades in which coaches are reviewing the trades. Like, it's crazy stuff. And what I want to say by that is, by being able to compare with having a mentor, you will be able to write down your key takeaways of that week and your basically your learnings immediately. And by writing down your learnings immediately, you're getting to the feedback where you're gonna write down the key takeaways you have learned by the step 2 comparison within the output section. And by writing down the key takeaways, you got better in really with a big difference than before, because you went through all of that process. And then you come to step 4, and step 4 is going to be adjusted input. And by adjusted input, I just mean that you continue doing step 1 input, where you again go into the charts every session, write pre-game plans and execute trades, which is going to be your material again, your informations which you're going to work with, where you journal everything, your thought process, blah 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 blah, the whole week. And then you continue the cycle again and again every week. And this is what I was doing in VIP. Every week I was following this system by having that adjusted input, where you have learned about the week which you went through, and having the key takeaways after comparing yourself with your mentor's informations, where he's gonna help you. You will be able to have crazy adjusted input. You got better, and you trade the next week much better, because you have new learnings about yourself, about the markets, about your decisions, about your thought process, about everything. And this is why I'm telling you, that's the most powerful for loop system which you can follow, in my opinion. You just need the things which I was mentioning, and that's a good mentor, someone who will guide you through, someone who is gonna review your pre-game plans, someone who is gonna review not really your pre-game plans. You just need a summarization of valid opportunities within that week which you have been traded, and then you just compare what you did and what the mentor was saying. This is how I was doing that basically. So again, it's a system of 4 sections: 1, 2, 3, 4. Following that, in my opinion, and doing that for 6 months, I'm telling you, you're gonna get profitable easily, by not fucking up. You need to be honest to yourself when you're reviewing. But first, input, setting the pre-game plans, executing the trades. You need to execute. You will not learn if you not execute. This is why you want to get the trader. After that, you're going to get to the output. The output is gonna be compare yourself with the mentor, and the mentor is gonna give you weekly summarizations of the week, so you're gonna be able to compare. After you compare yourself, you're gonna have step number 3, feedback. The feedback is gonna be your feedback which you have written down, key takeaways and learnings. And by having that, you go to step number 4, and step number 4 is gonna be adjusted input, and that's gonna be the next week which you will be trading with new knowledge and with better performance because you have learned from the first week. And continuing that cycle over and over again, at some point you will come to a situation in your trading career where you have done that so often that you will be able to just be a master in your own mind and your own body. This is what I'm telling you, and you will be able to execute crazy trades. So this is my idea on following a system. Just a quick key takeaway from myself. I was doing things. Yeah. And coming quickly for you to have the pre-game plan still into the markets. Okay, now again, we know that our direction overall on the M15 is bearish. We do have our structure currently internally from our lower high to our lower low, which had the accumulation in price caused a break towards the downside, creating that lower low. After we had that accumulation engineering that high, price decided to induce that engineered high from where internally, after having the inducement up and the break lower, the mitigation sellers took over control, with having bearish momentum towards the downside, breaking the last lower low. So in theory, our M15 last external bearish push will be that lower high to that lower low, from where you will mark your inducements and the first break and the mitigation, which is pretty interesting since this bearish block, which already has been consumed by mitigating into it, is gonna be your extreme bearish block from your external M15 last bearish leg, from where that PR will be pretty interesting as we already mitigated into. We'll come now into that, what is happening here and what we can expect, because I do think it is acting as an efficiency of the pullback, as it's an extreme area from where it makes sense to create lower lows structurally on M15. But we have some pretty different story from the market telling us here. So this is what we need to dissect before taking sells into consideration from here. As we created the lower low, we had induced that major inducement, mitigating the higher time frame demand, which is a buyer sensitivity candle. Looks pretty nice. From where buyers took over control, push out, failure to create a low, internal break, first mitigation to a potential small money trap, then a push lower, inducement down after the mitigation, we're reacting, and after that we have a follow through to the upside, confirming buyers. After that we break lower, but we fail to create the lower low. Buyers take control again. Through that inducement we're pushing higher, absorbing supply, inducing low, so we are printing a pretty nice demand, a supply to demand PI from where we can see price reacted into it with a very bullish liquidity cycle. We had a build up, inducement, mitigation into that supply to demand PI, which looks pretty nice because since this is our internal bullish structure we have formed already, which we can see here. After having that cycle into the extreme territory of that bullish block, price decided to push higher and break. So we had the first mitigation into that supply area here, from where we could have expected lower lows. But very interesting to see is that the momentum which price has given was pretty low, more so a build up, and combining that build up with the inducement low into that S2D mitigation, having that aggressive follow through and bullish break of structure to the upside, this is confirming that this supply can definitely be a potential smart money trap. Also, let's say efficiency of the pullback, extreme supply area of 10-15 bearish structure. And I do think as well that looking into that, it makes a lot of sense, since let's hop into the higher time frame quickly, since that last weekly candle has been pulling towards the downside, fulfilling imbalances, and currently pulling again higher towards the upside. We do see a pretty nice inefficiency here, which price could definitely feel to continue lower from that, have or mitigate into some interesting IFCs or areas from where then any cycle towards the upside can cause price to follow through to the downside and continue the bearish momentum and retracement towards the downside into that last bullish leg, weekly bullish leg, which we're having from that higher low to the higher high, into more deeper interesting areas, since for example the supply to demand decisional, which caused the break of that last higher high, which already got tested, that bullish block. This can give us nice cycles towards the upside. But for now we are sitting definitely on a inflection point where we could push higher and fulfill inefficiency, mitigate into some more interesting areas, which from their price can cause a break lower or a cycle to push lower. I do personally think we do see the last daily candle has closed pretty bullish, since we had that push low, failure to create a low, inducement of previous day's low, which is a nice cycle into a higher time frame demand mitigation, which could have been a smart money trap but ended up respecting. We had that aggressive push higher, closure pretty bullish. So this bullish I see here, price tested into it again yesterday, having that second test, inducing that engineered low, which has been liquidity, mitigating and respecting the bullish IFC and closing pretty bullish to the upside. Now we do see that price, after mitigating and inducing that high, which can be a bullish break, also rejected before closing, so it could sign a bit of indecision today. But I personally do think that it is enough signs, this buyer sensitivity candle area is enough signs that price, after fulfilling lower, can definitely pull higher and close the day pretty bullish within that daily candle. Yeah, this is my thought process. The only thing I am concerned about is that since it is a bit of indecision within that candle, this day's candle can maybe close in indecision, engineer liquidity to induce and afterwards pull higher, but it could also today already. So looking into that and coming into the H1, we're having our last internal bullish leg we were talking about at the beginning, from where after that break price has tested that bullish block here. After testing it, I know that after creating a high, a retracement, a complex pullback makes sense to the efficiency of the pullback to the extreme to create higher highs. So this is my thought process currently. I do think the buys can get pretty beautiful, depending on where price decides to pull higher. We could pull higher after breaking, I don't know, this low, or already seeing bullish signs, because after we create a high, price push low, push high, failure to create a low, and after we have that break towards the downside, this internal medium inducement, that cycle in Asia, which has been a build up, a inducement, internal medium inducement into a mitigation, causing, which we can see here, a changing momentum from sellers to buyers, since we push higher into supply, absorb, react, fail to create a low. Wait, let me hop on M5 or M1. So we do see here price after inducing that internal medium inducement, we see that a push higher into the supply, from where we absorbed a buildup of liquidity, induce low, which caused price to change momentum towards the upside. So we already see buyers signs. That doesn't mean that price can't, after inducing, for example, Asia high, mitigating in that higher high, push higher into deeper areas such as the extreme, from where buys would be beautiful. But it can definitely be a cause for price to mitigate in that higher high, show development and its hands through a engineered low inducement and a follow through to the upside, to have potentially already the expansion towards the upside. This is something that could happen. Personally, I do think for that session to not talk a lot, since we were pretty late, what I can expect is, if price gives me development here, if price gives me development, I definitely will be willing to buy from that Asia high smart money trap. But now getting into GU, we do see after we have that higher high, push low, two bearish legs of M15 which have been formed, we do come into that smart money trap. We induce Asia low, Asia high, respecting that IFC, having the divergence with EU. So this looks pretty nice to go lower into that liquidity, also signing and comparing it, or correlating it with EU. But still, that doesn't mean anything for my analysis in EU. So if we have a good lower time frame confirmation after inducing an engineered low, I definitely can get some buys into the following the momentum and structure to the upside. Personally, I will not sell until we break that high of previous day, as I do not want to take the sells from that Asia inducement into that higher high, which has been a trap UI. Can give a reaction, but it's not that probable for me personally. So if I do want to have counter trend reversal sales, I want to take that high of previous day and definitely build up some liquidity before that, to take that in consideration, since we're pretty bullish currently. Looking into the continuation buys, which I've been talking already about, Asia low, Asia high smart money trap. If we induce an engineered low, we have a pretty nice lower time frame confirmation. We can buy towards the structure and momentum. Price still can decide to push lower into the real objective, being the break and test. Efficiency of the pullback from where buys will be much more beautiful. This is what I can expect for the session personally. In GU, I do think that after having the cycle here, the Asia inducement into the IFC, bearish IFC, holding liquidity towards the downside, having that divergence with EU, we can definitely have that follow through to the downside as well, into the objective being the break, test, bullish block have been tested by this break and test. This is pure liquidity. Below that, we're having that extreme POI from where buys can be expected. This is what I'm thinking about currently the markets. So selling in GU can be good. You can do that. Nothing for me. I do not want to explain why now, because it's pretty late. Sells only if price takes higher previous day. Buys can be developed now. Continuation buys, sorry. And reversal buys I would take only in that objective. And when it comes to continuation sales, will not be able to execute anything in there. So I do think that's about the session. Stay patient, nothing high probable for now. For now, it doesn't look it's gonna be something high probable. So yeah.